If you like to laugh, and who doesn't, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to My Funny House with the Powell brothers. Frank Powell is a real estate broker who was born and raised in San Diego, along with Frank's brother Mark, a real estate broker who also lives in San Diego. Each week, the Powell brothers bring in a special guest comedian to share hilarious real estate stories so you can learn what can go really right and what can go really wrong with home improvements and home ownership. So now, let's get into it. With My Funny House, here are your hosts, Frank and Mark Powell on The Answer San Diego.
Hello, San Diego. Welcome to My Funny House with the Powell brothers. My name is Mark Powell.
And my name is Frank Powell. Good morning.
Together, we make up the Powell brothers.
And we also have our beautiful co-host, Maria Herman, the producer of Comedy Heist with us. Good morning, Maria.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. Yay, Maria's here.
G'day, everybody.
We're with Maria so often now. She's like our sister.
Yeah, I know. It's nice.
Maybe we can hyphenate her name and Herman-Powell.
Yeah, that'd be
my
nice.
husband will love that.
Yeah. Get on his payroll. He'll have to support all of us.
Today's show is going to be fascinating, especially in today's real estate market. As we know, home prices keep rising.
Fascinating.
It's very good for people who own a house who want to sell. So these are the 12 steps to selling a house.
A 12-step program? That sounds appropriate.
It's like after you buy a house, you probably have to go in the 12-step program, right?
Oh, my goodness. Let me tell you something.
After you get your first mortgage bill.
For some people,
start drinking.
It is almost like a 12-step program. I mean, it's just super stressful. People handle stress all sorts of different ways. Buying and selling a house, I think it's on the top 10 stressors.
Oh my God! One of our main jobs that we never even talk about is handling the stress level that's going to come because no matter what, even if it's the perfect house, when you're actually releasing $500, $1 million, $2 million, I mean, the stress factor is going to go. Am I doing the right thing?
The numbers are crazy.
Unbelievable.
You think that's stressful? Wait till you see the taxes they have to pay.
Oh,
that's
God, no
that's
kidding.
another stressor.
Well,
HOA
it sounds
fees.
like you've done a really great ad for getting people to sell their houses.
But I'll tell you why people are selling their houses now, because last year San Diego home prices went up 17%, and
Wow.
people are, and that's what they went up. People are paying crazy amounts of money for houses now.
Yeah, by the time you do your comparable market analysis, which we'll talk about, the market has actually went up almost every week or 2 weeks.
Yes, that's correct.
So
Where are the buyers coming from? That's what I want to know.
Well, I'm going to tell you
where are
something.
they moving from?
That's an interesting question because of a byproduct of COVID, people know that they're not going back to their offices, and a lot of big companies shut down their buildings, and they go, you can now work from home because everyone's set up for Zoom. So now people are thinking, hey, I can work anywhere in the world. I don't have to be close to my office, which I don't like. Mm-hmm. So they're moving from all over the United States to where? America's finest city.
San Diego.
They're coming from all over, Maria.
San Diego.
But I think a lot of people are leaving California as well because of taxes. So I think
that's also
this
true.
mass migration of people that I don't think any of us have ever seen. It's fascinating.
You're right. There's states like Texas who are experiencing even 20-25% increases in their home values from just how many people are migrating there, in Florida and a whole bunch of other places for a lot of different reasons.
But the funny thing, even though people are leaving California, home prices are still going up.
It's unbelievable.
Right.
As people are moving in. I would rather sit on the beach with my laptop computer working than sitting in,
I'm not leaving San Diego.
No, I love it here.
We have 50 beautiful states, but I like this one the best.
Frank, one of the first steps you take when you're going to sell your house is to find a real estate agent. And this is actually the easiest step out of all of them.
Because you call the Powell brothers.
That's right. Just call us. We just eliminated your first step,
But it's really true. Like, I'm not going to answer this because it's kind of like our secret, but you should ask your agent, what's the most important reason why I should be hiring you? Like, what is truly your value?
Right. And
what are you going to do for me?
Not just what you're going to charge me for a commission, but how are you going to get me the top dollar from my house? What is your secret recipe?
Right, exactly. And Mark and I do have secret recipes.
We do have them. We have a recipe book.
We do have
called My Secret Recipes to Selling a House.
Real Estate Recipes by the Powell brothers.
Right.
I have to say, I've dealt with realtors. When I was selling my house a few years ago, I dealt with a few different realtors. My house was on the market for too long. and I learned a lot of things the hard way.
Right.
But I would have to say actually interviewing a realtor, I wouldn't even, besides, what else would I be asking? I mean, I know that you are obviously moving forward. The Powell brothers are the only game in town. But what do people actually ask? I mean, in an interview, it's like,
how long have you been selling houses? How many houses have you sold this year? Do you have any references or resources? Do you have any people we can call to get a reference check on you? And
what are you going to do?
Things?
What are you going to do to market my house? How are you going to get me the most money? Do you have service providers that can complete repairs such as roofing, tile, electrical, plumbing, painting? We have
Show me your social media platform.
Yeah, we have a whole crew. Do you have a radio talk show?
That's when somebody asks us what we're going to do.
Do you have a comedian co-host?
That's exactly.
Do you have that? Have you got that?
If you do have a radio talk show, yes, that's true.
Okay, so what's the next step?
So now you've hired the Powell brothers. Okay, how much is your house worth, and how do we determine that, Frank?
Well, the bottom line is people do say that they want to really know how much can I get from my house, because I heard down the street my neighbors sold their house for whatever X amount of dollars, but it's not always apples to apples. So we show them how, and the way we do it is we do what's called a CMA, which is a comparable market analysis.
That's correct.
Now, what does that mean? So I'm just going to tell my viewers out there, even if you go to any market, let's say you go to the open farmers market, and today avocados cost $4, 4 avocados for $1, and in a week, they're up $10 for an avocado. It just depends on what the market's doing,
right.
the inventory.
What the market will bear.
What the market will bear. So we just compare it to other houses that have sold in the last 3 to 6 months back.
Similar size homes.
Right.
Price per square footage, you compare within, it's typically 1 mile radius, within the last 6 months of sale,
right.
within, it's called 15 to 20% of the gross living area or square footage.
Okay, but here's the thing. When you're the seller, you value your home. Like I thought I had the best avocado that anyone had ever seen. It was the biggest, most wonderful avocado and didn't even hold a candle to,
Right.
I mean, I just like, it held all the candles, actually. No one else had a candle. They were completely out of candles when you stood next to my avocado. And so I think that mentally a seller has an idea in their head because of all the love they put into a house, and how much time they spent there and how wonderful it is, that it's maybe worth more than what you tell them it's worth. How do you deal with that? I'm just
It's very easy because what we have is actually printed out reports. We don't make up this number. We say this is what the market is telling us. It's not Mark and I making up the number. So if you want to go over that number, we'll talk about that. But if you want your house to be on the market for a long period of time and not sell, it usually goes in reverse really, really fast. Like, why hasn't it sold? There must be a problem with it. So you have to sell. You have to look at the evidence, and Mark and I explain, this is the truth. Whether or not you ever had the truth in front of you, some people don't like the truth, but we just tell them the truth, and here's what the numbers are.
Well,
and what if you do have an avocado that is different to everyone else's avocado? Your avocado is attached to a mandarin, and it's complete. Nobody's got that.
I'll tell you why.
You can't compare apples with avocados.
Avocados from Mexico.
In our industry, those are called adjustments. So you always want to make adjustments. I'll give you an example. There's 2 houses on a hill, but one of them faces the ocean, and the other one right across the street that's bigger doesn't face anything. Would you rather have the ocean view, or would you rather have the radius, which is a mile ago? That house is right across the street, and it's going for $200,000 lower than mine. Why? Well, we have an adjustment. It's called a huge view of the ocean in my backyard, which you don't have. So those are called adjustments, and that's how we address them.
Well, there's a couple of things that you brought up that are very important. First of all, Maria, when you're talking about why a person would believe that their home is more expensive or worth more than somebody else, a lot of times they do something called sweat equity. What's sweat equity, Frank?
That means you're out there in the lawn pulling your weeds, you're out there pouring your own cement, you're out there painting your own house, you're out climbing in your attic, making sure that everything's installed properly and everything's tight, and you have put in your blood, sweat, and tears into building your house.
Yeah, so that to them that is worth a lot of
millions
value.
of dollars.
And they're millions and millions. So a lot of home sellers say, I put out this really nice backroom barbecue area and our backyard barbecue area, and so they believe that is going to be substantially more because they did it themselves, and they just get this personal, like they have personal pride in their house. People take pride. It's called pride of ownership. The other thing is is when you're selling a house, the adjustments that Frank is making, some of them are subjective, some are not. For example, a swimming pool would not be subjective depending on the kind of swimming pool it is. But a view is very subjective. How much is a view worth?
How much? How much is it worth? 10,000 is worth 50. Remember in downtown, for every floor you went up, it was about $10,000 more. So the higher you went up, it seems. I don't know if it's still doing that.
Well, it depends. Now it's subjective because you may go up 5 floors, your view is still being blocked by another building. But on the 6th floor,
you can see everything.
You can see the bay and everything like that.
And there's other people that don't want to be on the 20th floor.
So between the 5th floor and the 6th floor is a huge price increase.
Right.
But between 6 and 7, it may be a smaller price increase.
And that's the adjustments.
That's the adjustments you make.
What if you just, like for me, I mean, what if a really good-looking guy was just out there every day?
That's
and
the
that
Powell
was
brothers.
my view. I think...
Hey, right.
You hired the right agent.
Maybe.
The view is subjective. I'm just like, yes, he does look very good
so funny.
today.
That's like
And
that
it's very
commercial
good
where he
at
showed
the
two-
sunrise.
We actually hire models to go outside the house and walk by at certain times.
Have you ever seen that commercial where you have those two
You do
people?
not.
No, I'm joking.
No, you have those two people riding a bicycle and they're actually just looking at each other through their apartment windows, and they compete against
that's
each
such a
other.
hokey commercial. That's
Oh,
right.
geez.
Yeah, I don't know if that really happens, but the answer
I have no
doesn't.
idea. Well, anyways, once you decide to sell your house and you've kind of come up with a price, you have to do something called a walkthrough or your own personal home inspection because there's going to be some deferred maintenance issues or some repairs that are needed. So what happens then?
Well, we go and we walk through the house and we tell them what to fix and what to repair and how to get it ready for a sale.
What's the easiest thing, though, would you say?
When I look at it, mine is always the outside because that's a curb appeal. So the easiest thing is cutting the grass, trimming to make sure there's no trees touching your house,
Watering the grass. Try that.
Watering the grass, watering the grass, or going the opposite and just redoing it and having more of a desert landscape.
Curb appeal is huge.
Yeah. So painting, that's a simple
Painting
one.
is another easy one.
It's just a pain in the butt, but if you do it and you start painting it, it'll look so much better.
Or just hire we have painters that are so reasonable. Right. It's well worth your money to hire a painter.
Yeah, especially
And do you think
door.
in this environment when there are so many buyers?
Yes, I
do
really
you
know
think
what you're
it's
gonna
still
ask.
important?
Absolutely.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're selling anything, if you're selling 2 beautiful cars and you're a car enthusiast and there's going to be a bid, you're going to get the one that's clean or you're going to get the one that's detailed. Like, which one attracts you more? That little bit is going to get you more. It's going to be the one they select. There could be a competition of other houses, but they pick yours because it's something very simple. I like the front door was really beautiful color and so forth and so on.
You know what's a really good thing to do if you're going to sell a house?
What's that?
Is staging it. Because 90% of the people who are going to look at a house are going to look at it online. So let's say you have a house, but it's empty, it's vacant. You're going to have a bunch of pictures of vacant rooms.
Right, just selling a box.
Bizarre. Yeah.
So people go, I don't know if my bed fits in there. I have a certain sofa I want to put there. So when you arrange it by staging it, you don't have to guess what a dining room table would fit or how big you can go or how the sofa would be arranged or if there's enough room. So it gives you a snapshot I could picture myself living in there.
It's almost like when somebody gets dressed and they're wearing nice jewelry or they have rings.
Yeah,
accessorizing. It's accessorizing the place.
But what if you have to move? What if you've decided that you're moving cross country? That's why you're selling your house. And so you can take the pictures. So the photographs could be still with your stuff in there, but now you've already moved. You've literally left you're Elvis. You're out of there. You've left the building. Are you saying pay the money? I mean, to have it staged?
Yes.
And with everything going on, do they even have? I mean, are there stages that have?
Yes, there's
what you need to stage a house. I mean, they're not overrun with work and business right now.
There's 2 ways to stage a house. You can use your own furniture and just rearrange it and make it look nice, declutter and all that stuff. But there are companies out there right now that are just ready to stage. They have bought all the stuff. They have warehouses and they get there and they.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I think about this. So when you see the picture online, you want to go into the house and see the same picture. Can you imagine if you see a picture of somebody on a date and then you go on that date and you're like, man, you don't look like the picture.
You don't even have a car. What's going on?
No, absolutely.
It don't look like that,
Well,
you know?
that's like even different. That's the photography. And when you get a photographer in there, you want to make sure that it represents you. You want to make sure that.
Well, that's the next thing. You have to take professional photos. Like,
Do you think I was wondering, do you think it's worth it to sell the house with the furniture in it if you can? I feel like moving costs have gone up exponentially in the last 12 months. So it's like a clean cut, like in a relationship where you leave everything behind.
You can't
people do that.
Well, listen, when you're doing a loan and when you're doing a house, when you're marketing a house, you cannot include the furniture with it. That gives.
Well, you cannot include it in the price of the house.
You can't include it in the price house. You can leave it there, and you can sell it outside of escrow.
Yeah.
So you could say, listen, here's what the house costs. If you want the furniture with it,
right,
I have to sell you outside, because what we represent is what a house value is, not the house value that's furnished. So
the bank can't lend on a flat panel TV. A bank can only lend on the house.
Right.
So they don't want you to include a flat panel TV or the Mona Lisa portrait in there.
But it's also done because it gives a false sense of the market when you sell a house that has $200,000 worth of furniture in there, as opposed to the next door neighbors who doesn't. So you're not really going apples to apples. You're comparing that one has furniture and this one doesn't. So you don't include
the furniture when you're evaluating the price of the house. But the second thing is, this is really important. This is what can get a seller in trouble, is they need to fill out disclosures. And there's actually 2 forms that they fill out, and Frank is going to talk about these 2 forms right now because he's literally an expert on them.
Oh, wow, thanks.
You are.
Seller Property Questionnaire is called SPQ, Seller Property Questionnaire, and that obligates the sellers to fill out a form. I don't know how many pages it is, but it asks you every question.
I think it's 4 or 5 now.
Yeah, so there's a lot of check marks, and they're obligated to list everything that they know, that they can remember, that's wrong with the house. And this is what the agent
and what's
cannot
right
touch.
Also.
And what's also right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So you list everything.
Like if you put a new roof on it, you'd want to tell them.
Right. So you list everything that's mostly, people like to know what's right, but people don't like to tell you what's wrong. So Mark and I make sure we tell everyone selling, listen, people like to know what's wrong with your house. They don't want to learn a year from now that something happened that you're trying to hide. They don't want to climb up in the attic and see something that you tried to hide. If you just tell them the truth and you come clean and say, this is it.
Right.
And
tell them everything.
Tell them everything. It's way better for a deal.
Yeah, I feel like I should have gotten a seller's disclosure from my husband's ex-wife. I really feel as though I might have made some other adjustments before actually taking on the property. I'm just saying there are some things that work, but other things that don't anymore.
You can use our form. Just put husband.
Listen, if my wife would have got the seller's disclosure,
you would have been single.
No, it would have been. It's like 300 pages.
List everything wrong with Mark.
Okay, where do I start?
We need a supplemental on this one.
How's the foundation?
Yeah,
exactly. So the next thing, after they fill out the disclosures, we have all the disclosures fill out. Well, there's one more, Frank. It's called the TDS. What's the TDS?
Transfer disclosure statement.
Yeah.
And that's whatever transfers with the house too.
Yeah, does it get there?
There's a one thing that transfers. Let's say we're talking about, does your house have solar? Oh, it has solar. But what they have to disclose is if that solar is owned or leased.
Right.
If it's leased, you got a big problem trying to sell the house.
Huge
because
problem.
The person that leased you that contract will not get you out of that lease unless the person buying it gets into the lease. And the person getting into the lease have to have the same credit score, and they have to qualify for getting that lease. So that could be a big pain in the butt. So what we try to do is we say, hey, listen, if you want to sell your house, it'd be really nice if you paid off that contract.
Or pay it off at close of escrow.
Or pay it off at close of escrow so they can do that. So there's a couple of things that do transfer that you don't really want to transfer.
People don't realize that when they get into these solar contracts, that if they come down to sell it, like they have to know what they're getting into.
That's
solar it's good. The leases are really good. You can save a lot of money, but
no money down
when you're selling it, you know.
Yeah, but if you have to sell it, those leases are for years and years and years. So if you sell it before, if something happens to your family or you have to leave in 5 years, you got to deal with this contract you're selling.
And then,
so that's part of the transfer disclosure statement.
Okay, now you've done that. You've interviewed your agent.
Yeah, you called it the TDS.
Yeah. And
it sounds TDS.
Yeah. Good one.
That is very good.
It is TDS.
Hey.
TDS, you're right.
Well, maybe it is TDS. Maybe we're naming it wrong. Maybe it's not really a TDS.
Yeah. Maybe it's just called
we
a TDS.
Look at that form. We have to look at that form again. The next thing to do is you got to begin marketing your house, and that is a very cool thing to do. And Frank and I we're really good at marketing homes on the internet, and Frank will talk to you a little bit about.
Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to see what kind of photos, because now photos include what? Something called a drone. There's another camera that takes a 360-degree view of your house where you can actually walk through the property.
Yeah, virtual.
Yeah, virtual. So you want to take the regular photos. You want to take, if it's something that is relevant, you want to take a bird's eye view. For example, if you're on a canyon, or if you want to get the pool angle from up on top.
Correct.
So these drones are really easy to use. There are companies, in fact, I use a certain company, a certain person that does these drones, and they come out great. And it actually shows, you can actually take the drone, like let's say you're by Mission Bay or by the ocean. It's better to see flying out of your house how close you are, 2 buildings over, and all of a sudden the ocean is right there, as opposed to saying this house is 0.3 miles from the beach. So it's a huge impact on the marketing.
You know what's really cool?
It's interesting. These drone videos and photographs, these aerial shots are so new. And while you're living in the house, you've never seen the view of your house that way. And it's remarkable that it's such a big selling point.
Huge.
Yeah, it's big.
Like, you don't even know, like it doesn't even really matter, does it? You never see the house from the air.
No, but
you might see it as a pin dot from an airplane, but you never see your house that way. And yet it's so appealing. There's nothing funny about that. I just found
I just want to say it.
The roof. There's something about the roof.
Yeah. Well, a lot of inspectors use.
A lot of people have roof
now.
fetishes. You ever heard of that?
A roof fetish.
Maybe that's what I have. I have a roof fetish.
A roof tile fetish.
So I'll tell you.
See the top of your heads. That's all I'm saying.
You know,
I want to see your face.
You see my bald spot. That's what you'll see. So if you look at this at selling houses and marketing, what you'll also find is that when we place a property into something called the multiple listing service, we can add 30, 40 pictures in there. All of that information gets sucked out into multiple online public search sites. And that's what people use typically when they start to search for a person who's selling a house. So they'll log on and they'll say, wow, look at this. This house is for sale right now. And there could be 3 or 4 different search sites. But the unique thing that these search sites do now is they will give you their estimate of value over what our estimate of value is. Sometimes they're right. Sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes these things can be 20 to 30% different. One website has it low. One website has it too high.
Correct. And you also want to bring that when you're showing, like, this is what the market analysis is. You want to say, here's the 3, this is what people usually view at first, and here's our number. So it's going to be,
because a lot of people will base their offer on what these public search sites are indicating, and they could be wrong,
But they're not actually people, right? They're just computer algorithms working on various data that they have.
And they don't explain.
Compared with, it's like dating a robot instead of a real guy.
Right.
Robot dating is getting big in San Diego. Robot websites.
Okay, so what's the next step?
The next step is...
We only got a minute left.
Oh, are you sure? Okay, the next step is, let's say you received an offer to purchase. Let's say you received 10 offers to purchase. How do you know which one to take?
Well, what we do is you also want to pick the highest and best offer. Now, that's a little tricky right there. The highest isn't always the best, and the best isn't always the highest. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're selling a house for $800,000. You get a person that wants to buy it for $875,000. He has a 30-year loan. Great FICO score. He's going to get the loan. But then you have a guy that comes in and goes, I'll buy it for $800,000, all cash, no loan contingencies, no appraisal, no inspection. And
ding.
And I can close in 2 weeks. Talking a $70,000 split. So the highest wasn't the best, and the best wasn't the highest.
Well, you have to
evaluate.
But in that situation, is it worth the risk to take the other one for $875,000 that may not go through, or take the $800,000 that you're guaranteed to go through?
Right.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about.
That depends what you want.
I'm a gambling man, and I would take the $870,000.
Yeah, I'd take the $875,000.
You know, like I like that. I'd say, listen, cash buyer, come up to $870,000, and we'll talk.
Well, you can negotiate
because
the price
I don't
up.
like the fact that people have cash. They think they can lowball the seller.
Well, here's what happens. This is where your real estate broker, or we're actually real estate brokers, which is a higher level than a real estate agent.
Yeah, you're paying us to negotiate this.
You pay us to get you the highest amount possible.
10, 20, 30 more grand.
And that's really what
on
you're
one
paying.
conversation, we can get that for people.
Right.
That's what we do.
Frank, speaking of negotiations, how do we
Maria, let's ask you something. How do we get a hold of you? We know that
You go to the local farmers market and you look at the avocados. And there I will be just juggling. ComedyHeights.com is my show, Fridays and Saturdays in San Diego. Check us out.
And Frank, how do we get a hold of the Powell brothers?
Well, there's two ways. You can call 858-922-7725, or you can go to powellbrothersrealty.com and check us out. Give us a call anytime. And thank you guys for, we have some viewers now that are pretty loyal. I want to thank you for listening.
Thank you guys.
We'll see you next
girls.
week with another fun subject matter on real estate. And we'll be with Maria to make you laugh.
Have a great Saturday. See you
Bye-bye.
guys next week.
Thanks so much for joining us today for My Funny House with the Powell Brothers, right here on The Answer San Diego. Join us next week as the Powell Brothers bring you more funny stories of what can go really right and what can go really wrong with home improvements and home ownership, and bring the laughs to you with yet another hilarious guest comedian. To find out more about the Powell Brothers, be sure to check out their website at powellbrothersrealty.com, or you can visit myfunnyhouse.com. Again, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week for My Funny House on The Answer San Diego.